Well, today I'll be presenting you with some solutions to help you with that problem. Today I will be showing you some solutions for the communication barrier of information overload, which is when someone is bogging you down with too much information. The definition of information overload, like I just said, is just when someone or an individual is bogged down with too much information and will often make errors or incorrections. And this is according to yourarticlelibrary.com. And as you can see down here, we have pictures of some athletes. On this one seems very confused and kind of depressed. And then this one is in the act of being yelled at by his coach. A big problem that comes with information overload is overwork. And a lot of coaches expect a lot from their athletes, because they want to win. That's really not the case when you want a human to do something, because humans are not machines. That's not very healthy for most humans, and that does tend to happen with information overload. Claim of problem: information overload is a major roadblock in communication that is hard for sometimes people of higher authority to realize, because they don't realize what they're putting their players through, because they just think, they should just get it because they're my players and I want to win, but that's not how that goes. And this also has a major psychological effect on the players, obviously, because they feel like they're being robbed, or they don't feel like they're doing the best they can, so they get very depressed, and it causes a very negative effect on them. Proof of the problem: nearly 30% of all college athletes are injured due to overwork, and that's just in the past year. This is according to msutoday.msu.edu. And then also nearly 33% of all athletes quit every year. And that's due to lack of good coaching, or information overload, not really doing what they should when they're coaching. And then also, about nearly 95% of all male athletes and 85% of all female athletes report having a higher stress load than the average population, which is only about 50%. And that's according to northeastern.edu. And then it is reported that 70 to 85% of all sports are mental. So you can see why it has such a big effect of being stressed out on them, because of it being that much mental. And that is also according to PubMed.gov. Communication affected in the workplace causes employees to have a very hated attitude towards their employers, which I'm sure you can relate to. I mean, when you feel like you're being used or anything at work because of how much you're being told to do, you really don't feel like doing much more. And that makes it harder for the employers to, get their points across thoroughly, because they're having to deal with employees that feel like they're already being used too much. So as you can see, that would be a very big problem, and this is according to smallbusiness.cron.com. Why does it need to be addressed? Well, there's about 35% of athletes that have some form of mental problem sprouting from their sport-related training, and a lot of life-ending injuries occur from athletes due to overwork or overuse, and this is also mainly from information overload. And also, this is according to jhunnewsletter.com, and it is also shown that 40% of athletes have used drugs or some other used drugs at some point, or another due to the stress or problematic due to coaching and training. So really abusive coaching and training would cause them to be very stressed out, and this is according to recoveryunplugged.com. Claim of solution: taking the time to make sure athletes understand what you're saying, and having a weekly one-on-one will really help and take care of them. And then weekly health and mental evaluations on athletes, that'll help make injuries go down and help athletes' mental be better and have them perform better on the field. And this is according to championshipcoachesnetwork.com. How we address this problem: this can lessen the mental abuse of athletes, like I've already said, that they may undergo in sports, and this is also creating time to stop the injury from occurring in athletes, and time to evaluate pain and discomfort they may be experiencing. This can also normalize the amount of emotion that goes into sport, while also having a competitive edge. So you can have athletes with good mental capacity while still having the competitive edge of competing. Proof that it works. Sports psychologists have improved/enhanced performance of athletes by over 20%, and this is according to APA.org. The more communicative a coach is with their athletes, the better the athlete is communicating with them in their daily lives in their sport. And this is according to BeMoreCompelling.com. And then the benefits of it, of course, are by putting these changes in place, like I said earlier, it'll make mental abuse in athletes decrease significantly, make a lot of other negative statistics go down, such as drug use, mental issue number, injury rates, and the amount of athletes that quit every year. And the claim of action, create mandatory weekly meetings with your players and coaches one-on-one, and also create the job position for athlete psychologists, for athletes to confide in so that they do not lose their minds trying to fit into the perfect mold of what an athlete seems to be in today's age. Steps of action, hire psychologists for schools and athletic programs where sports are provided. Have this help implemented to all athletes and make at least once a week mandatory mental screenings. 3, have athletes' bodily pains and sores checked up on at least once a week. And also implement lots of recovery for athletes because it's very important to heal your body while tearing it down. And in conclusion, so as you can see, with the correction of language use, attitudes, lack of common experience, and information overload, the sports world for players and coaches will vastly improve with overall health and positivity, creating a happy team that will be almost unstoppable. So what are we waiting for? There are people in desperate need of our help just beyond this presentation. Now, next time Coach tells you to pick up the pace, you'll be a little more understanding of his lingo.